Hey, while I have the capture card up, which, by the way, I seem to have at least partially fixed, you won't believe what I did. I took one of the spare cables I had from Walmart, and I switched it around, and then I jiggled the cable, and then I loaded up the ReCentral, which is the software they want you to use, but it's the software that basically nobody who is serious enough to buy a capture card uses, because XSplit and OBS are way better. I loaded that up and somehow that fixed it. That fixed the green screen. But I don't know how long this is going to last. My ability to do Climax Fighters is still in jeopardy. Hopefully I will have a fix within the next week. Even if I don't, I should still be able to record. It's just going to be a pain in the ass. Basically, it's going to be, I don't know how to describe it. It's going to be cutting out in the middle of recordings. I basically have to do like this ritual rain dance with the wire to get signal. It gets really old. It's not something I want to do for a big release, but if I have to, I will. I think it'll do good for the channel. It looks like a pretty fun game. Some people have been translating the the Famitsu articles or whatever for it, and talking about the characters in detail. It seems like they all have some cool properties. I'll have to watch the PV again and get a little bit of a crash course on the mechanics. I have not pre-ordered it yet, which is kind of a good thing given what's been happening. But I will probably get to that when my Patreon comes in a few days. And in the meantime, I thought I'd be talking about some things that I will be doing with the capture card at some point, either before or after Climax Fighters. We don't really know if Climax Fighters is a good game, like I said, so it may not be something that I play a lot. My biggest concern with it is A, it's going to be 30 FPS, and B, that it's coming out at a weird time because Gundam Versus is out. Gundam in general is a much larger franchise than Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider is pretty much only shown in Japan and some places in Asia like the Philippines where they dub it. So Gundam has far more appeal, and apparently the netcode's better. And the Gundam series has been around for a long time, and Climax Fighters is basically using existing assets from Batride War and kind of repurposing them and adding some extra moves, and I don't know how good of a game it's going to be, but I will give it an honest shot anyway. But in the meantime, before or after, I will be working on Nex Machina. I kind of got this and then just kind of dropped it because I just got busy with other stuff. Croiler Sigma is actually it's a decent game. I mostly play it on the Vita. It's a kind of a weird like DMC Bloody Palace clone. Like there's no exploration at all, which I think is really cool. I would like to see more indie stylish action games kind of adopt that kind of formula where it's not really about big exploration and stuff, which just blows up the budget and disrupts the flow of the game and pisses people off. But the combat's not great. It's decent. It's not very deep. I think it's fun to play on Vita because it's pretty much the best choice of a character action game on the Vita. as far as I know, I played pretty much all the action games on there. It's pretty much the closest you can get. It runs at pretty solid 30 FPS on Vita and then 60 FPS on PS4. I might be playing this later on. Wild Guns Reloaded, I need to go back and finish. I got obsessed with doing a 1cc. I need to just credit feed through it first, so I'll try to get around to that as well. DBCS I would like to play more, especially since it seems like they are done with the DLC, which is kind of weird because they brought in another development studio around like mid last year, I think, early mid last year, and then they only released like 2 DLC packs, and it's been quiet for months. So I don't know if they're done with this game or maybe they are working on another one. I would have liked to see them put the DLC ships in the CS mode. I think that's this game's biggest downfall. Other people don't like that, how repetitive it is. It's not meant to be played in one sitting. The arcade mode is meant to be played in one sitting. The CS mode is supposed to be more like Tyrion, where you unlock ships and you can get power-ups and stuff. It's not really meant to be something that you just speed run through. You're supposed to be playing it for a long time, which I think is cool because most shmups, especially Japanese shmups, don't really have much replay value. It's always been, I don't know if you can call it artificial, but the kind of replay value that most people don't care for, which is, learning to 1cc the game and then score attempts or both in the same run. Survival runs and 1cc runs are pretty much the only replay value most of these games have. Some of them are cool enough to have unlockables, but not on this capacity. So it's really a shame that they charge for, I gotta actually show you, I have pretty much all the DLC for this. It's taking a little bit to load here. Like, I have all the DLC for this, and you can only use it in the DLC mode, which I think is what kind of kills a lot of the value. You can see all the ships I have. I would play the CS mode more if I could use these ships. It's kind of unfortunate that you can't, but I'll try to come up with some more footage for this. I did pretty much explain the mechanics of most of the ships. If I missed any, I'll try to go back and get them later on. Now, Phantom Breaker is apparently coming out on the Switch, and they said that they are doing some rebalancing. Apparently, they're removing the alternate routes. I would hope that they finally fix Level 6. Level 6 is the worst part of this game. It's this big brown maze. It feels like you're in some Western first-person shooter from last gen. It's just completely brown. There's barely any landmarks. It goes on for way too long. I hope that they'll fix that. I contacted them on Twitter. I asked them, what are the balance changes in detail, and will they be coming to the other versions? This is like the third version of this game that I have, so I'm not really down to buy another one unless they make some significant changes. If they do, and it does come to PS4, then I'll definitely look into that as well. Otherwise, I kind of just play it to mess around. Dragon Quest Heroes 2, I will be working on more. It has grown on me a little bit. It definitely has some problems, but for 30 bucks, I mean, I've spent 30 bucks on 2 pizzas in a week. And yeah, those are in and out of your body in a couple hours, so I don't really mind it too much. I had some pretty bad buyer's remorse. I was playing pretty badly. I didn't really understand the mechanics. Now that I understand it a little better, it is a little bit more fun. The dumb AI, the hyper armored enemies with, you know, ridiculous amounts of HP is kind of what brings it down, but it is fun. I like how the open world is pretty controlled. It's a lot like Tokiden 2. It's more, you have open hubs basically. You don't have a big world that takes forever to traverse. You can sprint. It doesn't take longer than a few minutes to get across. I saw some people complaining about the length it takes. I've run from one end to the other. If you don't like engage in any battles, you can get over there pretty quickly. So I like that. It does respect your time. The game was available on PS3 as far as I know, so that obviously limits the scope of the open world. If they do make another one, I hope that they improve the combat. I hope that they don't have humanoid bosses in the game. The humanoid bosses are the absolute worst thing about it so far. They are just giant walls with like barely any startup on their attacks, because they're all, as far as I've seen, they're all playable characters. So they're meant to have short startup, you know, to be playable against the leagues or legions of enemies. It doesn't really work too well. I think it's definitely the worst part of the game. The big boss fights are not that bad, especially since you can parry with a martial artist, which I think is pretty cool. They don't explain that mechanic to you at all. But basically, if you dodge into an attack, most enemies that aren't like the really big ones will actually get stunned, and you can get a free combo or two on them, which I think is pretty cool. I've actually been learning the counter timings, and it's definitely helped me appreciate the game more. I'll definitely have to experiment with the other classes as well. So, barring all these problems I'm having with the capture card, I'll definitely be uploading more of this game. Now, Ys 8, I kind of dropped because I was busy with other stuff. But what's happened with this game is basically they've gotten under fire for the translation, which I haven't found that bad, but then I found some people comparing the translation to a more direct one that I guess someone fluent in Japanese did, and apparently they changed stuff that didn't make sense. They're doing a complete retranslation of the game, and it's also one of the reasons why the PC version isn't out yet. Apparently the PC version, according to some beta testers who broke NDA, it's like it was in really, really bad condition, and they just weren't able to release it, which I think is it's a blessing in disguise for them, because they're charging a full 60 bucks for that port. The game runs pretty well on PS4. It does hiccup a little bit, but not enough to really make a difference. I think it running a little better on the PC would be great, but apparently it wasn't really in that state at all. So when that retranslation comes out, I will definitely be tackling this game again as well. I'm more than halfway through it, so I may go through that beforehand. It's kind of a matter of how well the capture card cooperates, and B, you know, how different the retranslation is. Spirit of Sanada, I really have disliked this game. The frame rate is honestly like borderline giving me a headache. It reminds me of the Tokiden 2 demo. I don't know if you guys played that demo, the Japanese one. It ran like shit. Like, just rotating the camera actually was giving me a headache. I had to stop playing it. That's how this game feels. I don't know what is up with their engine, but it seems like it just, something's seriously up with it. I know this game on PC, you need like a beast computer to run it, which doesn't make any sense, because it's, you know, it's a Musou game. You need a a relatively decent computer to run it at 60 FPS with like all the enemies on the screen, but you should need one that's capable of running like a big open world game at 60 FPS above 1080p to run this game. So I don't know what's wrong with it. I do want to give it more of a chance so that I can try the new movesets, but just with how poorly it performs and how, you know, the lack of difference from the other like versions of Samurai Warriors 4, I don't know how far I'm going to take it. If people are interested in a giveaway, go ahead and let me know in the comments. So you would have to be okay with me sending it to your address, whether that's your work or a P.O. box or your home or whatever. You had to be okay with that. If you're not okay with that, then we'll have to arrange something. Also, if you live outside the U.S., I may have to ask you to pay shipping. But if you guys would be interested in that, I can go ahead and let me know. I'm well past the point where I can return it. I know if I traded it to either Amazon or GameStop, they'd give me like $5 for it. I think it would be cool to give back to you guys and just give it away. So let me know if there's any interest. Knights of Valor apparently tomorrow is going to be on the US PlayStation Store, which I think is pretty cool. Obviously my data would not carry over, but it would be a lot easier for me to use the cash shop. I don't know how much the game has changed. I think it's kind of a situation like Closers, where they have like a build of the game, but they don't have all the content in there. I definitely will be checking that out tomorrow. I will attempt to do it on stream, provided that my capture card is working. Now, I've already explained my problems with this game in detail, mostly just how spammy it is. The bosses pretty much just evolve to how many super moves you can spam in a short period of time, which it gets old really quickly. It's definitely the kind of gameplay that attracts the whales. You know, you can just mash a button and kill everything if you put enough money into it, but I don't really care for that, so I will give the game a shot. I'll definitely try the other version as well and see if things have changed. I haven't played it in like a year, so I don't know if things have improved since then. I know they've added some more customization options, which is pretty cool, so I'll try to get back to that as well. Finally, the last thing I'll be doing, I don't really have a specific time frame for all this stuff, but next week, or a week from tomorrow, Marvel Infinite is going to have the final 3 characters in the character pass, which I already paid for a couple months ago. I'm interested in trying Black Widow. Venom and Winter Soldier don't really look like my cup of tea, but I'll definitely check out their mission mode and see what else other people come up with. Maybe one of them will synergize with Chun, who's my favorite character to play. Obviously, this is it's the Dante Memorial Service patch. Dante's going to be pretty much neutered. They're going to chop off his legs and balls, and it seems like he's not going to have as much use. I'm sure some dedicated people will still use him, but it's basically going to cut the amount he's used in the tournament setting a lot, which I think will be good for the game. I'm kind of unfortunate. I really like playing as him. I think it's cool what they did. It's just the design of the character makes it so you can use him with pretty much everybody, which is what's killed a lot of the diversity in the game. So I'm hoping that the DLC characters will be fun. I've been trying to diversify from Dante for a while, but like X he's a pretty shitty character. He takes way too much work for not enough reward. He didn't get any buffs in this patch. It feels like this patch is more of a reactionary one to kind of quote-unquote save the game. They're nerfing the Reality Stone. They're nerfing Dante, so that should hopefully help maybe have some more diversity in teams. So I'll be checking that out on the 5th. That'll be just a day or two before Climax Fighter, so that should be a pretty packed week next week. I need to figure out how I can pre-order it. I'll definitely check the Singaporean PlayStation Store today and see if I can figure that out. If things are working, I will still get Climax Fighters, but I can't make any promises at this point. So luckily, there's a lot of things here that I can work on that will definitely fill the gap if things come to that. Anyway, catch you guys later. If you're interested in the Spirit of Sanada giveaway, if you're interested in getting the game and you're okay with me sending it to whatever your establishment is, be it work, PSO box, PO box, or your home, then go ahead and let me know. If I get enough people interested, I'll definitely arrange this for next month. Catch you guys later. Peace.